The Sistine Chapel, a heavenly rebellion. Imagine stepping into a space where the very air vibrates with centuries of whispered prayers and audacious rebellion. This is not just a building, it's a living question mark, a testament to the audacious reach of the human spirit. We are descending into the Sistine Chapel, a place where stone and sky collide, and where a reluctant genius, Michelangelo, was coerced into painting a universe. In 1508, Rome pulsed with the raw energy of the Renaissance, a city built on the echoes of empires, where power and piety danced a complex ballet. At its heart, the Vatican, a labyrinth of ambition, became the stage for an extraordinary confrontation. Pope Julius II, a man of formidable will, demanded that Michelangelo, a sculptor who saw himself as a craftsman of stone, not a painter of heavens, transform this ceiling into a grand narrative of salvation. But this wasn't mere decoration. This was a battlefield of visions, not of swords and shields, but of theological wrestling. Michelangelo, a man of the earth, not the heavens, was forced to confront the very essence of creation, the nature of humanity, and the presence of the divine. He was compelled to translate the sacred into the visual, to bridge the gap between the unseen and the seen. Look up now. Let your eyes wander across the celestial vault. See the drama unfold. This is not a simple story, not a child's tale. This is a profound interrogation, a spiritual wrestling match. Michelangelo takes the sacred text, and with his brush, he reimagines it, infuses it with his own human understanding, his own doubts, his own yearnings. And there, in the heart of it all, that moment of divine contact, the creation of Adam. Observe that infinitesimal gap, that almost touch between the fingers of God and Adam. That space, that sliver of air, is not just a physical distance, it's a profound theological chasm. It's the very heart of our human longing, the Sehnsucht, the unquenchable yearning for communion with the transcendent. It's the ache to bridge the divide between the finite and the infinite. In this silent sanctuary of stone and light, every brushstroke resonates like a whispered prayer. Michelangelo's hand, both trembling and resolute, carves out a new language, a lexicon where beauty and rebellion merge. Here, in the interplay of light and shadow on ancient plaster, the divine is not an abstract concept. It becomes palpable, tangible, and intimately entwined with the human. But what happens when the divine metaphor is filtered through the lens of human genius? When the hand of the Creator is rendered by the hand of a mortal, a hand that has felt the weight of marble, that has carved the human form with such exquisite precision, does art bring us closer to the divine, or does it, paradoxically, magnify the distance? Does it illuminate the transcendent, or merely reflect our own limited understanding? This is the question Michelangelo forces us to confront, a question that reverberates through every brushstroke, every muscle, every gesture on that vast canvas. It is a question that echoes across the centuries, a question that speaks to the very essence of faith, to the core of what it means to be human. As our eyes wander over the intricate details of the fresco, notice how the delicate void between the Creator's outstretched hand and Adam's yearning grasp speaks to our own existential longings. It is in that fleeting pause, a moment of almost touching, that the mystery of our spiritual journey unfolds. Is it not in our own moments of hesitation, of reaching out across the divides of fear and doubt, that we encounter the possibility of grace? Michelangelo captured more than a biblical moment. He encapsulated the eternal tension between the finite and the infinite, and within that gap, that space between God and man, lies the profound theological concept of analogia entis. It's the understanding that while the transcendent is beyond our comprehension, we can glimpse its nature through the created world, through the beauty of art, through the very fabric of our being. We are made in its image, yet we are not it. We strive to understand, yet we can only grasp a fragment of the mystery. Michelangelo's reluctance, his initial resistance to this monumental commission, underscores the human struggle with divine calling. It's a testament to the weight of responsibility, the awe-inspiring task of translating the sacred into the visual. He knew the limitations of his own hand, yet he dared to attempt the impossible. And in that very act of daring, he revealed something profound about the human spirit. Its capacity for both doubt and faith. Its ability to bridge the gap between the earthly and the transcendent. This celestial gap, suspended in time, invites us to reflect on the paradox of our existence. The more we strive to bridge the distance between ourselves and the transcendent, the more we discover that every moment of separation is itself a threshold for communion. It whispers to us that divinity is not distant or aloof, but is woven into the very fabric of our daily lives, an ever-present force, urging us to transcend our limitations and embrace the mystery of being. As we gaze upon this masterpiece, we are not merely observing a work of art. We are witnessing a spiritual drama, a theological battle, played out in pigment and plaster. We are invited to enter into that space, to feel the tension, to wrestle with the questions, to confront the mystery, and perhaps, in that moment of contemplation, we may glimpse a deeper understanding of ourselves, of our relationship to the transcendent, and of the enduring power of sacred art. So, as we embark on this journey through sacred imagery, let this moment remind us that the pursuit of truth and beauty is not solely an academic quest, but a personal pilgrimage. In the suspended breath between creation and creator, we are beckoned to partake in an eternal dialogue, a communion where art becomes the bridge that transforms the void into a canvas of hope and renewal. Welcome to a voyage where every gesture, every color, and every silent pause is a testament to the transcendent presence that dwells within us all. Michelangelo's Rome, politics in pigment. The Renaissance was a crucible of ambition, a clash of wills, a dance of power and piety. Pope Julius II, the warrior pope, a man who saw himself as a new Caesar, commissioned the Sistine Chapel not merely as a work of art, but as a statement of papal authority, a visual testament to the Church's dominion. Michelangelo, a Florentine Republican, a man deeply skeptical of centralized power, embedded within his brushstrokes a quiet subversion, a subtle rebellion. He painted a God who strains toward humanity, a creator whose power is not distant and tyrannical, but intimate and relational. The creation of Adam becomes a mirror reflecting Florentine ideals of human potential, a celebration of the human spirit's capacity for greatness. This was a radical departure from the medieval worldview, a shift from a God of distant majesty to a God of immediate personal engagement. Connect the historical context to the theological concept of imago Dei, image of God. Michelangelo's depiction emphasizes human dignity and potential, reflecting the Renaissance rediscovery of classical humanism, but also reinterpreting it through Christian lenses. Step back into the bustling, vibrant, and volatile Rome of the early 16th century. The Renaissance, a period of rebirth, was not merely a flowering of art and literature, but a tectonic shift in the very landscape of human thought. It was a crucible of ambition, a clash of wills, a dance of power and piety, where the secular and the sacred were inextricably intertwined. At the heart of this drama stood Pope Julius II, a man of extraordinary energy and ambition, a warrior pope who saw himself as a modern Caesar, a restorer of Roman glory. He envisioned the Church not as a humble servant, but as a dominant force, a beacon of power and authority. And the Sistine Chapel, he believed, would be the ultimate testament to this vision. It was to be a visual manifesto, a proclamation of papal supremacy, a grand theater of divine power. But Julius, in his ambition, underestimated the stubborn independence of Michelangelo Buonarroti. Michelangelo, a Florentine Republican, a man deeply skeptical of centralized power, was not a mere craftsman to be manipulated. He was a genius, a visionary, a man who dared to challenge the very foundations of artistic tradition. He was, in essence, a reluctant prophet, a man called to a task he did not seek. And within the very brushstrokes of the Sistine Chapel, Michelangelo embedded a quiet subversion, a subtle rebellion. He painted a God who was not a distant, tyrannical ruler, but a creator who strained toward humanity. A God who reached out in love and longing. This was not the God of medieval iconography, a figure of remote majesty, but a God of intimate, personal engagement. Look at the creation of Adam. See how God's powerful arm reaches out, how his gaze is fixed on Adam's eyes. This is not a gesture of domination, but an invitation to communion. It is a visual representation of the theological concept of imago Dei, the image of God. But Michelangelo's interpretation goes beyond mere representation. He infuses it with the spirit of the Renaissance, with its rediscovery of classical humanism, its celebration of human potential. Adam, in Michelangelo's vision, is not a passive recipient of divine grace, but a figure of strength and beauty, a testament to the inherent dignity of the human person. He is a mirror reflecting Florentine ideals of human potential, a celebration of the human spirit's capacity for greatness. This was a radical departure from the medieval worldview, a shift from a God of distant majesty to a God of immediate personal engagement. Michelangelo, through his art, was reinterpreting the very nature of humanity's relationship with God. He was reminding us that we are not mere puppets in a divine drama, but active participants in the unfolding story of salvation. He was suggesting that the divine is not something external to us, but something that resides within us, waiting to be awakened. And this perhaps was Michelangelo's greatest act of rebellion, to reclaim the dignity of the human person, to remind us that we are all in our own way bearers of the divine image. He transformed the Sistine Chapel from a symbol of papal power into a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit, a reminder that even in the midst of ambition and conflict, the divine can still be found in the beauty of creation, in the strength of the human form, and in the quiet subversion of a reluctant genius. The theology of the human form. Medieval art often depicted God as a symbol, a distant figure removed from the messy realities of human existence. Michelangelo's God is incarnate, embodied, present. The Creator's flowing robes mirror the contours of human anatomy. His beard a tempest of energy, a force of life itself. This is the Renaissance's radical claim. The divine is immanent, knowable through the body, through the very flesh and blood of our being. The human form, divine, as Blake would later say, is not merely a poetic phrase, but a profound theological assertion. The body, rather than being a source of sin and corruption, becomes a vessel of grace, a temple of the Holy Spirit. This re-evaluation of the body had profound implications not only for art, but for our understanding of salvation itself. It is not an escape from the body, but a transformation of it. Dive into the concept of incarnation and its implications for understanding the body. Contrast medieval dualism with the Renaissance emphasis on the goodness of creation. To truly grasp the seismic shift Michelangelo wrought, we must understand the artistic and theological landscape he inherited. Medieval art, with its emphasis on symbolism and allegory, often depicted God as a distant, ethereal figure, a celestial monarch removed from the messy corporeal realities of human existence. Think of the gilded icons, the flat two-dimensional figures, the emphasis on spiritual abstraction. God was often portrayed as a symbol, an idea, rather than a living, breathing presence. Then came Michelangelo, shattering these conventions with the force of his genius. He dared to depict God as incarnate, embodied, present. Look closely at the Creator in the creation of Adam. His flowing robes, rather than concealing the body, accentuate its contours, revealing the powerful musculature beneath. His beard, a swirling tempest of energy, is not merely a decorative flourish, but a symbol of divine vitality, a force of life itself. This was a radical departure, a theological earthquake. Michelangelo, through his art, asserted that the divine is immanent, that God is not confined to some distant heaven, but is present within the very fabric of creation, knowable through the body, through the very flesh and blood of our being. The human form divine, as William Blake would later proclaim, is not merely a poetic phrase, but a profound theological assertion. In a world still grappling with the lingering echoes of medieval dualism, a worldview that often saw the body as a source of sin and corruption, Michelangelo offered a revolutionary vision. He reclaimed the body as a vessel of grace, a temple of the Holy Spirit. He reminded us that we are not disembodied spirits trapped in flesh, but integrated beings, body and soul, created in God's image. This re-evaluation of the body had profound implications, not only for art, but for our understanding of salvation itself. It challenged the prevailing notion that salvation was an escape from the body, a flight from the material world. Instead, Michelangelo suggested that salvation was a transformation of the body, a sanctification of the flesh, a redemption of the created order. Consider the implications of this shift. If God is truly present in the human form, then every human being, regardless of their status or condition, possesses inherent dignity and worth. This was a powerful message, a radical affirmation of human dignity in a society marked by hierarchy and inequality. Michelangelo's art, in essence, became a visual theology, a powerful testament to the goodness of creation. He reminded us that the world is not a fallen wasteland, but a sacred space, a theater of divine glory. He invited us to see the divine not only in the heavens, but also in the beauty of the human form, in the strength of the human spirit, in the very act of creation itself. This was the Renaissance's boldest claim, that the divine is not something distant and unattainable, but something intimate and personal, something that resides within us, waiting to be awakened. Michelangelo, through his art, invited us to rediscover the sacred within the secular, to find God in the beauty of the human form, to embrace the goodness of creation, and to recognize that we are all, in our own way, bearers of the divine image. Order versus chaos. The Exodus reimagined. Michelangelo's God imposes order, brings light out of darkness, separates the waters from the land. Chagall's God dwells in chaos, in the shattered fragments of human experience. For Chagall, a Jewish artist fleeing the horrors of Nazi Europe, the Exodus is not a triumphal march, but a harrowing journey through trauma and displacement. His figures float in fractured blues, adrift in a sea of suffering. The Red Sea is not a parting of waters, but a vortex of displacement, a symbol of the chaos that engulfs the world. Moses' tablets are not stone, but light, fragile as hope in a world consumed by darkness. This is not the exodus of power and glory, but the exodus of vulnerability and despair. Chagall shows us that God is present not only in moments of triumph, but also in the depths of our suffering. Explore the concept of theodicy, the problem of evil, and how Chagall's art grapples with it. Contrast Michelangelo's emphasis on divine sovereignty with Chagall's emphasis on divine compassion and presence in suffering. We now journey from the structured grandeur of the Renaissance to the shattered landscapes of the 20th century, from the ordered cosmos of Michelangelo to the fragmented visions of Marc Chagall. Here we encounter not a celebration of divine power, but a raw, unfiltered confrontation with human suffering. Michelangelo, in his depiction of creation, portrays a god of order, a divine architect who brings light out of darkness, who separates the waters from the land, who establishes a harmonious cosmos. His is a god of sovereignty, a creator who reigns supreme over all things. But Chagall's God, born from the crucible of persecution and displacement, is a God who dwells in chaos, in the shattered fragments of human experience. For Chagall, a Jewish artist fleeing the horrors of Nazi Europe, the Exodus is not a triumphal march, a glorious liberation. It is a harrowing journey through trauma and displacement, a descent into the abyss of human suffering. His figures, adrift in a sea of fractured blues, float in a state of perpetual exile, their bodies contorted, their faces etched with pain. The Red Sea, in Chagall's vision, is not the parting of waters, a miraculous deliverance. It is a vortex of displacement, a symbol of the chaos that engulfs the world, a reflection of the terror and uncertainty that defined his own life. Moses' tablets, the symbols of divine law, are not hewn from stone, but shimmer with a fragile light, a fleeting hope in a world consumed by darkness. This is not the exodus of power and glory, but the exodus of vulnerability and despair. It is a cry from the depths, a lament for the suffering of the innocent. Chagall, through his art, grapples with the age-old question of theodicy. How can a good and all-powerful God allow such suffering to exist? Unlike Michelangelo, who emphasizes divine sovereignty, Chagall emphasizes divine compassion. He shows us that God is not a distant observer, but a fellow sufferer, a companion in our pain. He reminds us that God is present not only in moments of triumph, but also in the depths of our suffering, in the darkest corners of human experience. Chagall's art is a testament to the enduring power of faith in the face of unimaginable adversity. It is a reminder that even in the midst of chaos, even when God seems silent, hope can still flicker, like the fragile light emanating from Moses' tablets. This is the profound contrast between Michelangelo and Chagall. Michelangelo's art offers a vision of divine order and sovereignty, a reminder of God's power to create and redeem. Chagall's art offers a vision of divine compassion and presence in suffering, a reminder that God is with us in our pain. Both visions are essential. Both speak to the complexity of the human experience. Michelangelo reminds us of God's power and glory. Chagall reminds us of God's love and mercy. And perhaps, in the tension between these two visions, we find a deeper understanding of the divine mystery, a glimpse of the God who is both transcendent and immanent, both powerful and compassionate, both sovereign and suffering. Color as theology. Michelangelo's palette reflects the Renaissance's celebration of harmony and balance, the earthly ochres and celestial blues mirroring the order of creation. Chagall's colors scream, they cry out, they bleed. The crimson of pogroms, the midnight blue of exile, the surreal violets of a world turned upside down. His exodus is not a narrative of victory, but a cry of why? A 20th century Job in pigment. Chagall's use of color is not merely aesthetic, it is theological, a visual lament, a testament to the pain and suffering of his people. It is a reminder that faith is not always a source of comfort, but often a confrontation with the raw, unfiltered reality of human existence. Discuss the use of color as a form of theological expression. Connect Chagall's use of color to the Jewish tradition of lament and prophetic critique. Beyond the forms and figures, beyond the narratives and symbols, lies another powerful language in the realm of sacred art. Color. And in the stark contrast between Michelangelo and Chagall, we witness a profound divergence in how color is employed as a vehicle for theological expression. Michelangelo's palette, with its harmonious blend of earthy ochres and celestial blues, reflects the Renaissance's celebration of order and balance, reflecting a world where divine reason prevails. It's a visual affirmation of the via pulchritudinis, the way of beauty leading to God. But Chagall's colors are not harmonious. They are visceral, raw, and deeply emotive. They scream, they cry out, they bleed. The crimson of pogroms stains the canvas, a stark reminder of the violence inflicted upon his people. The midnight blue of exile engulfs his figures, a symbol of the profound isolation and displacement experienced by those forced to flee their homes. The surreal violets and greens warp the familiar world, reflecting the disorientation and trauma of a world turned upside down. His exodus is not a celebration of triumph, but a lament, a cry of why, a 20th century Job in pigment. Chagall's use of color is not merely aesthetic, it is a form of theological expression, a visual lament, a testament to the pain and suffering of his people. It's a color-laden kana, a traditional Jewish lament, expressing the depth of sorrow and questioning in the face of tragedy. In the Jewish tradition, lament is not an act of despair, but a form of prayer, a way of engaging with God in the midst of suffering. Chagall's colors become a visual prayer, a cry for justice, a plea for mercy. They are a form of prophetic critique, challenging the viewer to confront the raw, unfiltered reality of human suffering, to acknowledge the brokenness of the world. This is not a God of easy answers or comforting platitudes. Chagall's colors remind us that faith is not always a source of comfort, but often a confrontation with the raw, unfiltered reality of human existence. They challenge us to wrestle with the mystery of suffering, to question the silence of God, to find hope in the midst of despair. Chagall's palette is a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit to find meaning in the midst of chaos, to create beauty in the face of ugliness, to express faith in the face of doubt. It is a reminder that even in the darkest of times, the human spirit can still cry out, can still lament, can still hope. His colors are not just pigments on a canvas, they are the tears of a people, the cries of the exiled, the echoes of a lost world. They are a visual theology, a powerful reminder that God is not absent in our suffering, but present in our pain, a fellow sufferer, a companion in our exile. And in the midst of the darkness, his colors become a beacon of hope, a testament to the enduring power of faith to illuminate the human spirit, even in the face of unimaginable adversity. The body is battleground. David Jasper argues that sacred art reveals our deepest anxieties, our most profound struggles with the divine. Michelangelo's bodies, glorious, proportional, idealized, assert control over divine mystery, seeking to contain the infinite within the finite. Chagall's disjointed figures confess the opposite. Faith is a stumble in the dark, a grappling with the unknown, a surrender to the mystery of God. The Sistine Chapel offers comfort, a sense of order and certainty. Chagall's Exodus unsettles, challenges, disturbs. Which is truer to Scripture? Is faith a fortress or a wilderness? Is God a master architect or a fellow traveler in our suffering? Use Jasper's word to explore the tension between apophatic theology and cataphatic theology. How do different artistic styles reflect different theological approaches? As we move from the artist's direct expressions to the critical lens of scholarship, we turn to David Jasper's The Sacred Body, a work that illuminates the profound anxieties and struggles embedded within sacred art. Jasper argues that these works are not simply passive representations of the divine, but active engagements with our deepest spiritual questions, our most profound yearnings and fears. Michelangelo's bodies, those magnificent, idealized forms that populate the Sistine Chapel, are, in Jasper's view, an assertion of control over the divine mystery. They are glorious, proportional, and seemingly perfect, reflecting a desire to contain the infinite within the finite, to impose order upon the chaos of the unknown. They project a sense of certainty, a belief that the divine can be grasped, understood, and even controlled through human reason and artistic mastery. This approach aligns with what theologians call cataphatic theology, the way of affirmation, which seeks to describe God through positive attributes and images. Michelangelo's art, with its emphasis on beauty, order, and human potential, becomes a visual expression of this cataphatic approach. It offers a sense of comfort, a feeling of security, a belief in the knowability of God. The Sistine Chapel becomes a fortress of faith, a sanctuary of certainty. Chagall's disjointed figures, on the other hand, confess the opposite. They are fragmented, vulnerable, and often distorted, reflecting a sense of disorientation and unease. They do not seek to contain the divine, but to surrender to its mystery. They acknowledge the limitations of human understanding, the darkness of the unknown. For Chagall, faith is not a fortress, but a stumble in the dark, a grappling with the incomprehensible. This approach resonates with apophatic theology, the way of negation, which emphasizes the unknowability of God, the limitations of human language and reason. Chagall's art, with its emphasis on mystery, ambiguity, and the experience of suffering, becomes a visual expression of this apophatic approach. It unsettles, challenges, disturbs. His Exodus is not a comforting narrative, but a raw encounter with the mystery of God, a wilderness of doubt and questioning. Jasper's analysis reveals the body as a battleground for these competing theological visions. Michelangelo's idealized bodies assert the triumph of human reason and divine order, while Chagall's fractured bodies confess the vulnerability of human existence and the inscrutability of God's ways. Which is truer to Scripture? Is faith a fortress or a wilderness? Is God a master architect or a fellow traveler in our suffering? These are the questions that Jasper's work forces us to confront. Perhaps the answer lies not in choosing one approach over the other, but in recognizing the inherent tension between them. Perhaps faith is both a fortress and a wilderness, a journey of certainty and doubt, a dance between the known and the unknown. Perhaps God is both a master architect and a fellow traveler, both transcendent and immanent, both powerful and compassionate. Jasper's analysis, in essence, invites us to embrace the complexity of faith, to acknowledge the limitations of our understanding, to find meaning in the midst of ambiguity. He reminds us that sacred art is not merely a reflection of divine truth, but a mirror reflecting our own deepest anxieties, our most profound struggles with the divine, and in that reflection, we may find a deeper understanding of ourselves, of our relationship to God, and of the enduring power of sacred art to illuminate the human spirit. The absence of women. Michelangelo's Eve is born from man, passive and idealized, a reflection of the patriarchal order of his time. Chagall's matriarchs are ghostly, their pain etched in fractured lines, their voices muted, their presence marginalized. Both artists, consciously or not, expose theology's blind spots, the ways in which tradition can silence and erase the voices of women. This is not a condemnation of their art, but a call to critical reflection, a reminder that even the most sacred works are products of their time, and that our understanding of God must always be open to growth and transformation. Explore feminist theological critiques of traditional interpretations of Scripture and art. Discuss the importance of reclaiming and amplifying the voices of women in theological discourse. While Michelangelo's idealized forms and Chagall's fragmented figures offer profound insights into the male experience of the divine, a closer look reveals a significant blind spot: the portrayal of women. Michelangelo's Eve, born from the rib of Adam, is a reflection of the patriarchal order of his time. She is passive, idealized, a beautiful but subordinate figure. Her role is to complete Adam, to fulfill his existence. This portrayal, while a product of its time, reflects a theological tradition that often relegated women to secondary roles, silencing their voices and diminishing their agency. Chagall's matriarchs, though imbued with a haunting beauty, are often depicted as ghostly figures, their pain etched in fractured lines, their voices muted, their presence marginalized. They are victims of displacement, of violence, of a world that has forgotten them. Chagall, despite his own struggles with the limitations of his time, inadvertently perpetuates a sense of female vulnerability and passivity. Both artists, consciously or not, expose theology's blind spots, the ways in which tradition can silence and erase the voices of women. This is not a condemnation of their art, but a call to critical reflection, a reminder that even the most sacred works are products of their time, shaped by the cultural and social biases of their creators. Feminist theology, a powerful movement within Christian thought, challenges these traditional interpretations, demanding a more inclusive and equitable understanding of God and humanity. It critiques the patriarchal structures that have marginalized women throughout history, both in religious and secular contexts. Feminist theologians argue that God is not male but transcends gender. They emphasize the importance of reclaiming and amplifying the voices of women in theological discourse, recognizing their unique experiences, their profound wisdom, and their essential contributions to the life of the church. They point to the biblical stories of strong women, Miriam, Deborah, Ruth, As examples of female leadership and spiritual authority, they challenge traditional interpretations of Scripture that have been used to justify male dominance and female subordination. The work of reclaiming and amplifying the voices of women in theology is an ongoing process, a continuous conversation that seeks to deepen our understanding of God and humanity. It is a conversation that invites us to question our assumptions, to challenge our biases, and to strive for a more inclusive and equitable vision of the divine. As we engage with the art of Michelangelo and Chagall, we must not only appreciate their brilliance, but also acknowledge their limitations. We must use their works as a starting point for critical reflection, as a catalyst for a deeper conversation about the role of women in theology, and as an inspiration for creating a more just and equitable world where the voices of all are heard and valued. I hope this expanded reflection provides a more nuanced and insightful exploration of the portrayal of women in sacred art and the importance of feminist theological perspectives. Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel, a testament to artistic genius and papal power, has transcended its original purpose to become a canvas for global conversations on social justice and human dignity. In the wake of the Black Lives Matter movement, artists and activists worldwide have embraced the iconic creation of Adam fresco, reimagining it as a powerful symbol of racial equality and the inherent worth of all humanity. The Brazilian artist Cranio's bold reinterpretation, where a black Adam reaches out towards a black Christ, is a poignant example of this powerful appropriation. This act of artistic subversion challenges the historical narratives of exclusion and dominance embedded within the original artwork, prompting us to confront the uncomfortable truths of our past and present. What was once a tool of papal might now resonates as a beacon for liberation theology, a visual testament that the quest for dignity and justice is as timeless as the divine mystery itself. Michelangelo's masterpiece, once a symbol of earthly power, now serves as a catalyst for a global movement, a reminder that art has the power to transcend time and inspire profound social change. Today, the legacy of Michelangelo's work transcends art history. It has become a living, evolving symbol at the heart of social justice. Across the globe, activists have embraced the iconic imagery of the creation of Adam, transforming it into a powerful language of protest. In modern reinterpretations, we witness George Floyd emerging as a new Adam, his outstretched hand a poignant plea for recognition, his form reimagined in the luminous gesture of hope. His hand reaches toward a black Christ, a divine figure whose presence proclaims that every human being, especially those long sidelined by history, is imbued with sacred worth. In 2020, the Brazilian artist Cranio boldly superimposed a black Adam onto the venerable fresco, challenging us with a simple, profound question: whose bodies are celebrated as divine? This act of creative defiance transforms what was once a symbol of papal might into a beacon for liberation theology, a resounding call to reclaim the narrative of sanctity and dignity for all people. It dares us to dismantle old hierarchies and to see the divine not as a relic of power, but as an ever-present force that champions the oppressed. Here, the sacred space of the Sistine Chapel evolves into a vibrant arena where art meets activism. The ancient hallowed walls, once designed to exalt the authority of a select few, now echo with the voices of marginalized communities demanding justice. The mural becomes a visual sermon, a call for a theology that is as inclusive as it is eternal. It reminds us that the quest for dignity and justice is not merely a contemporary struggle, but is woven into the very fabric of our spiritual heritage. In this convergence of past and present, we are invited to see that the divine mystery is not static but dynamic, a living dialogue that adapts to the cries of our time. The reinterpretation of sacred imagery challenges us to expand our understanding of what it means to be made in the image of God. It urges us to affirm that every act of resistance, every gesture of protest, is a testament to the enduring light of the divine within us all. Thus, as we stand before these transformative images, we are called not only to marvel at their aesthetic power, but to engage deeply with their message. In the art of protest, the divine is both questioned and celebrated, a potent reminder that our pursuit of justice and dignity is itself a form of sacred artistry. In every brushstroke of rebellion, every hue of hope, the eternal dialogue of faith is reimagined, inviting us to build a world where every hand is uplifted, every voice resounds, and every soul is recognized as a reflection of the divine. Chagall's Refugees echoes in Syrian art. Chagall's haunting images of displacement and exile, born from the trauma of the 20th century, continue to resonate with artists and activists grappling with the challenges of our own time. The Syrian artist Tamam Azam, in his poignant series Syrian Museum, echoes Chagall's vision, depicting refugees, their bodies fragmented and floating amidst the rubble of war-torn cities. Azam's work, created in the midst of the Syrian civil war, transforms the museum, a symbol of cultural preservation, into a haunting memorial to a lost civilization. His figures, inspired by Chagall's floating refugees, are not just victims of violence, but also symbols of hope, their fragmented bodies representing the resilience of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable suffering. Like Chagall's Exodus, Azam's work is a testament to the enduring power of art to bear witness to suffering, to challenge complacency, and to inspire empathy. It is a reminder that the human experience of displacement and exile, of loss and longing, transcends time and geography. In the echoes of modern conflict, where the steady heartbeat of peace is shattered by the drum of war, Chagall's legacy awakens anew through the creative vision of artists like Tamam Azam. His digital collages, haunting, spectral, and achingly beautiful, capture the deep wounds of displacement, transforming shattered ruins and tearful faces into a language of hope. In these images, every fractured line and ghostly hue speaks of loss and longing, yet also whispers of an indomitable resilience that dares to dream of restoration. Amid the bombed ruins of once vibrant cities where history is written in scars and silence, Azam's art poses a profound question. Can creation itself be a balm for souls when the divine seems mute in the face of relentless sorrow? It is here, in the liminal space between devastation and renewal, that art becomes an act of defiant worship, a luminous yes to hope, a silent yet resolute prayer that refuses to succumb to These collages do more than chronicle the anguish of exile. They reveal a divine mystery at work. In every spectral figure drifting over desolation, we witness the echoes of a sacred promise, that even in the midst of chaos, the human spirit is capable of transcending its brokenness. The transformative power of art emerges as a testament to our unyielding capacity to imagine, to rebuild, and to reclaim our dignity. It is a vivid reminder that our yearning for healing, though often whispered in the dark, carries within it the light of redemption. In the hands of modern creators, Chagall's legacy is reborn as a beacon of renewal, It tells us that the divine is not confined to the hallowed walls of ancient cathedrals, but is alive in every act of courageous creation. Here, amid the rubble and the residue of conflict, art becomes a sacred dialogue, a conversation with the eternal that bridges the gap between our deepest sorrows and our most fervent hopes. It invites us to see that every act of rebuilding, every burst of creative expression, is a step toward a future where grace can flourish even in the aftermath of devastation. Thus, as these powerful images unfold before our eyes, we are called to witness a new form of sanctity, one that is born not from perfection, but from the raw, transformative energy of human resilience. In the silent testimony of art, we find an enduring promise that even when words fail, the act of creation endures as a luminous, everlasting prayer for restoration. The gap between fingers, a metaphor for faith. Imagine the Sistine Chapel, not as a static masterpiece, but as a living, breathing testament to human yearning. We zoom in, focusing on that iconic charged space, the barely there gap between God's and Adam's outstretched fingers. This is not just paint, it's a portal to the very heart of human existence, a place where the divine and the human brush against one another, yet remain tantalizingly separate. This gap, this infinitesimal distance, is the very essence of faith. It whispers a profound question. Are we forever adrift, yearning for a connection we can never fully grasp? Or is the divine a constant, shimmering presence, woven into the very fabric of our being, as close as the heartbeat in our chest? This is not a question meant to create doubt, but to ignite a fire within us. It's an invitation to explore the depths of our own longing, to recognize that in every act of creation, every moment of reaching for something beyond ourselves, we are touching the very edge of the sacred. The echo of connection from Renaissance to today. Michelangelo's almost touching fingers resonate through time, a powerful symbol of potential communion. This vision finds its vibrant counterpart in Chagall's bold, dreamlike canvases. Chagall's colors, often depicting displacement and longing, speak of a divine presence that persists even in the face of profound suffering. And in our present day, the impassioned cries for justice, the hands reaching out in solidarity, echo this same yearning for connection. These are not disparate expressions. They are threads in a single, unbroken narrative. The divine is not confined to the past. It pulsates in the present, in every act of defiance, every gesture of compassion. Each brushstroke, each protest, each helping hand becomes a testament to our shared journey, a collective effort to bridge the chasm between the ideal and the real, the dialogue of the sacred, becoming co-creators. Sacred art, then, is not a final answer, but an invitation to a perpetual dialogue. It challenges us to confront the void between absence and presence, despair and hope, isolation and communion. The gap between Adam and God becomes a mirror reflecting our own existential quest. It asks us, how will we transform our separations into connections, our uncertainties into trust? Here, in the tension between the tangible and the intangible, we are called to become co-creators in the sacred narrative. We are invited to fill the silence with acts of love, courage, and faith. This is not a passive acceptance, but an active participation in the unfolding drama of human existence, the living tapestry finding the divine in human connection. As the camera pulls back, we see a diverse modern crowd, a living tapestry of human longing. Hands reach out, not in supplication, but in solidarity. This is the revelation. The glory of the divine is found in the fullness of human life, in every act of creative defiance, every quest for meaning. We witness the eternal dance between the finite and the infinite. This is the divine invitation, to see the sacred in every reaching hand, in every shared moment of vulnerability and strength. It is in this perpetual, unfolding gap between divine and human that we discover our true calling, to bridge, to build, and to be made whole by the boundless grace that sustains us all. The legacy of art, a call to shared humanity. Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel, once a symbol of earthly power, now serves as a global catalyst for conversations on social justice and human dignity. Chagall's haunting visions of displacement and exile continue to resonate with artists and activists grappling with the challenges of our time. Their works remind us that the human experience is a tapestry woven with threads of joy and sorrow, hope and despair, creation and destruction. Their legacy is not merely a collection of masterpieces, it is a testament to the enduring power of art to inspire, to challenge, to heal. It invites us to embrace the beauty of creation, to confront the darkness of suffering, and to find hope in the midst of despair. The journey of faith, a lifelong quest for connection. As we gaze upon the iconic gap between God's and Adam's fingers, we are reminded that the journey of faith is a lifelong quest, a constant seeking, a yearning for connection. It is a journey marked by both certainty and doubt, by both triumph and tragedy. Yet, amidst the chaos and uncertainty, there is always the possibility of connection, the hope of bridging the divide, of reaching out to one another in solidarity and compassion. The outstretched hands of Michelangelo's Adam, and God, the fragmented figures of Chagall's refugees, the diverse individuals reaching out to one another in our montage, all these images point towards a shared humanity, a common yearning for connection, a collective hope for a better future. The art of Michelangelo and Chagall, in all its complexity and beauty, invites us to embrace this shared humanity, to celebrate our diversity, and to strive for a world where the gap between us is not one of division, but of connection, where the echoes of hope and healing resonate through the ages, reminding us that even across the vast distances of belief and doubt, we are all reaching for the same essential truth, a connection to something greater than ourselves and to one another. Conclusions and call to action. As we draw this journey to a close, we are left with a resounding invitation, a call to reimagine the sacred not as a distant relic, but as a living, breathing presence that permeates every aspect of our lives. The story of Michelangelo, with his near-touching hands and celestial designs, and Chagall, with his vivid bursts of anguish and hope, reminds us that sacred art is far more than an expression of aesthetic beauty. It is a dynamic dialogue between the human heart and the divine mystery. In every carefully rendered line, in every chaotic splash of color, we see echoes of our own struggles, our own reaching for meaning amid life's uncertainties. The divine is not hidden behind the veils of tradition or confined to the quiet sanctuaries of the past. Instead, it is woven into the fabric of our modern existence, resonating in the passionate protests for justice, in the resilient dreams of the displaced, and in the tender moments when we dare to extend a hand to one another. This exploration challenges us to bridge the gaps between old and new, order and chaos, perfection and vulnerability. It calls us to transform our spaces of absence into canvases of possibility, to let our own acts of creative defiance become testaments to a love that transcends every barrier. In recognizing that every human gesture, every moment of connection holds a spark of the divine, we are urged to live our lives as living sanctuaries, where art, faith, and justice converge in an ever-unfolding narrative of hope. Now, as you step away from these images and reflections, ask yourself, how can you become an active participant in this sacred dialogue? In what ways might you let your own creative spirit and your commitment to justice reveal the divine spark within you? Whether through art, through words, or through acts of compassion, each of us is invited to contribute a brushstroke to the great canvas of life. Embrace this call to action with open hearts and courageous minds. Let us challenge the old narratives of exclusion and silence, and instead celebrate a vision of the divine that is as inclusive as it is transformative. For in every act of genuine connection, every moment of shared beauty, we affirm that the glory of God is indeed revealed in the fullness of life, a life marked by passion, creativity, and an unwavering pursuit of truth. May this journey inspire you to seek out the sacred in the everyday, to honor the divine presence within yourself and in every soul you encounter. And may you, like the artists who dared to challenge the confines of tradition, continue to transform the void into a vibrant tapestry of hope, bridging the eternal gap between the human and the divine. Thank you for accompanying us on this profound exploration of Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel, a universe unfurled in paint and plaster. If this journey into the depths of visual theology, into the heart of Genesis, has stirred your soul, we invite you to join our community, a gathering of fellow pilgrims seeking to understand the divine. Subscribe to our channel for more theological reflections, where we'll continue to explore the intersection of art, faith, and the human experience. Share your own moments of encountering grace in the comments below, and let us engage in thoughtful dialogue, building a community founded on shared exploration. Let us continue together, finding hope in every brushstroke of divine revelation, in every step of our shared pilgrimage towards a deeper understanding of God's unwavering love. May the beauty of the Sistine Chapel remain with you, inspiring you to see the sacred in the everyday.